Hi, my name is Justine Vanucci and I'm your business bestie. And today I'm going to teach you the most dainty, delicate, perfect, tiny wire wrapped loops.
Something like this to connect small beads, gemstones. We can also use the loops to connect bigger gemstones, maybe to attach some fringe. This is all the same skill, okay?
I really only use 3 tools when I do this.
The first tool are your snips. I like the ones that have like the really fine tip to it so I can really like get into small spaces.
Next, we're going to use, some people call them chain nose. I've heard flat nose.
Basically, any kind of plier that doesn't have any serration inside and tapers to a point.
Then the last one is the round nose pliers.
The round nose are exactly what they sound like. They have a rounded jaw. So these are really the 3 tools that we're going to need, okay? But we need a few other things, right? We need our gemstones. Today, so you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to use these larger turquoise gemstones. The other thing I'm going to use today is 26 gauge wire. And I've noticed that many people like to use 22 to 24 gauge. And this video is for people that want to go as thin as possible. I use 26 gauge and 28 gauge in my jewelry, and that's what we're going to learn on today. So it's important that the metal that you get is half hard. So we've got 26 gauge wire and half hard.
If it's soft wire, then it will not hold its shape as well. It needs to have some springiness in it to hold the shapes that you're gonna make.
So I usually just like to cut off a piece of wire for me to use. So I'm just gonna cut off a big chunk. I would normally go a little bit bigger if I was working alone, but for the purposes of this video, literally looks like I got a 6 to 8 inch piece here. I just don't want the wire to be out of control while I am working on it. So first we're going to grab our round nose pliers. And because we're trying to make the most dainty, delicate, perfect loops, I like to grab my wire pretty close to the beginning of the pliers. You'll see some people that might do it down here, but since we're aiming for small and dainty, I'm going to go someplace right around here. And I'm looking to leave at this point about a 1/2 inch of wire at the top. You can leave less as you get better at this, but I have found that it's so much easier to have a little excess. So once we've got this gripped lightly, you don't want to grip it too tight or else you're going to mar the wire. So next I'm going to actually push both pieces of wire kind of down over the bottom jaw. Okay? And once I have them, so they're about parallel to each other. Can you see that? So that's all I've got so far. They're parallel to each other. And I had it like holding like this. Then I take my longer end and I pull that one until I have a 90-degree angle. So this is what I should have right now. Okay. Now I'm going to discard these pliers for the needle nose. All right. And I'm going to grab that loop. Remember, not too hard because we don't want to mar the wire. And as I'm kind of like bracing myself on this bit of wire, I'm using my thumb to push the small tail of wire around the big guy. And I like to twist it 3 times. And I'm just using my finger, and this is exactly why it's always easier to go a little bit longer. As that gets smaller, it gets sharper, and as you're pushing it around, sometimes you can poke yourself, so just be aware of that. So once I have 3 wraps, I'm going to snip this as close as I possibly can. I snipped a little bit off, and there you go. You've got the most perfect first loop. So now that we've got the loop, we're going to take one of our stones and I'm going to thread it on.
One of the best parts about using 26 gauge and 28 gauge wire is you have a wide range of gemstones you could work in. When it comes to natural materials like that, oftentimes you have pretty small holes.
If I'm going to be making a necklace like this one, to have it lay nicely, it's really helpful to have the wire wrapped loops go back and forth. As in, you can see that there's one facing up, and now there's one facing flat. And there's one facing up, and one facing flat. So, if this one's facing up, our next one, we want it to be facing flat. So what I'm going to do is you want to make sure you give yourself enough room for where those wire wraps are going to be. So we need about that amount of room on this side. Now for this one, I'm going to actually take this whole thing and push it to a 90-degree angle. And then I'm going to wrap the longer part with my hands. I'm pulling it around so you can see better. And then I'm just, again, pulling that around. And then you can just push that up to 90 degrees again, because you're always looking for these 90-degree angles. And there's your loop. And then I'm going to hold it again with my needle nose. And in the same way as before, wrapping at a 90-degree angle. And this one's always a little easier because you have the big long tail. You might just need to make a couple little like adjustments. That one looked like it was up a little higher. And then I'm going to snip. And then if that tail is just sticking up a little bit, I like to push it down a little bit, again with the needle nose. And there you go. You've got your first link. So let's put on the next one. Take your piece of wire again, and we're going to do these steps again. We're leaving about a ½ inch right here. And first I'm going to fold both of these over the the lower plier jaw till I have this shape. And then I'm going to take that longer end and make my 90-degree angle. See my loop here. Okay. And now don't forget at this point, you got to put your first connector on. Okay. So we're just going to slide it on there. Okay. There you have that. So now when we're holding the loop this time with our needle nose, we want to make sure we do not grab and squish that original loop. Okay. I'm just going to bend this down. Remember, I want these to be a 90-degree angle. So, whatever you need to do, if you need to move this one down a little, move that one over. Okay, so there I'm at. And I'm going to take with my fingers and fold over the small end 3 times. Okay, and then when I'm done with that, I'm going to give this a snip and push my ends down. And there's the first loop of the next connector. And let's take our bead, take this bead and slide it on. Okay. And now remember, I want to go back and forth with my loop. So I'm going to hold this one so the loop is upright, because I like to make the sideways loop. I think it's easier. And I'm going to make sure I leave enough room for my wraps, still staying pretty close to the tip of the pliers. And I'm going to push this up to make my 90-degree angle. And then I'm going to wrap the wire around. And there's my loop. Nice and loopy. And then I'm going to take this and do my 3 wraps. Snip. And push it close. So a few troubleshooting issues I'll cover that are pretty common. Or let's say that you made this loop, but it is too far away from the stone. You have space in between the wraps and the stone. You can take an awl, put it in the loop, and just kind of gently press it down onto the awl. And that pushes everything closer to the stone. So now the stone is tight again and it's not moving around. All right, should we add one more just to make sure you got the hang of it? All right, I'm gonna do this one a little fast. We've got our wire, 1/2 inch, fold both over the bottom jaws of the plier, pull this one to 90 degrees. There we go. Add in our latest connector, slide it on until it's in the loop. I'm gonna take my flat nose plier. Oh, here's a good one. I feel like right now that loop's a little big and I wanna make it smaller. So I'm just taking this end and this end, one with my pliers and one with my hand, and I'm just pulling it a little tighter, and see that made the loop get smaller. And then I'm gonna get my needle nose in there. I'm going to wrap on my 90-degree angle. Snip. Crunch. Next stone. Slide it on. Make sure this loop is facing up and down. Give myself enough room, staying close still to the edge of the plier. Push this up till I have my 90-degree angle. Wrap the big long piece of wire around till I have my 90-degree angle again. And that gives me that nice rounded loop. Hold the loop. And with tension, I'm wrapping my wire. See this one? And this one turned out, you can see like that's a little crooked. So after I snip this and press that down, I'm gonna go back in here and I'm actually gonna just kind of take those coils and center them a little bit. I'm just turning my hand. A lot of the plier work is in the wrist. So I'm like just kind of using my wrist, bracing against a finger. I'm gonna do it one more time. There, that looks so much better. And that's the thing about the 26 to 28 gauge wire is you're definitely gonna have some adjustments you have to make because it is a very malleable wire at that size. But you can see if you get your loops very tight against the gemstone or bead and you make your loops small enough that they don't get pulled, then you are in good shape.
Let me know if this was helpful and if there's anything else that you need to see, any kind of issues you ran into that you want to know how to course correct. The great thing about this wire wrapping is it's pretty forgiving. There's a lot of things that just a little bit of bending will help you take care of. And the more you do it, it will become such muscle memory. So if you like learning things about jewelry and running a jewelry business, please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon because I have absolutely no sort of set schedule and you're gonna wanna be notified when new videos come out.